Hi everyone, Cameron Reynolds here again, and it's late October. Here's another one of our bee yards. Here's a piece of it. Yeah, it's in disarray. We've moved a lot of splits over here. This is one of the little ones, and basically what these were at one point was mating nukes we were selling queens out of, and towards the end of the year we just let them continue to grow instead of swiping resources from them, and eventually they worked their way up to about 6 to 8 frames of bees. Some of the bigger ones are a full deep. Look at that yellow jacket right there. He's fixing to get his butt whooped. And, strong, healthy colonies, that yellow jacket's trying to get away, but I think he might finally do it. Yeah. He's going to go cry home to his queen, or her queen, or all that stuff. Anywho. Good, healthy colonies, and this isn't a big colony, but it's healthy, and that's the most important thing. As a beekeeper, learning the balance. There's got to be a certain amount of older bees, younger bees, middle-aged bees, brood coming on. That balance is so important, and the bees are an extremely dynamic creature. When they're going up, the growth is amazing. When they start faltering, the fall or the deceleration of growth is just astounding as well, and especially for those of you who are not extremely diligent or don't have the time to be able to go out into your hives. You don't see this until it's too late, and the difference between a month can be huge, especially if you don't know the in-between signs. You go out there and little bitty signs of problems are happening and you don't see it, and then you come a month later and by then it's already ugly, whether it's mite problems or nutritional problems, whatever it is. But anywho, so we've had a couple weeks where it's been 50s and 60s, and it's been dropping down into the upper 30s, and many people don't think you can feed sugar syrup at this level, and hey, maybe they can't. I don't have a problem with it. This is going to be the 3rd gallon of feed for this colony. We'll actually probably do a little bit less than that, but they're capping it. They're dehydrating it down. I don't know exactly how they do that in this weather, but it is happening. And it's a thick feed that we're giving them. It's not quite a 2 to 1. It ends up being closer to 5 parts sugar to 3 parts water, just because 2 to 1 is so difficult to get to just not have the sugar come out of the water. It gets super saturated. And I think part of that is our spring water. It's probably got too much mineral in it, and therefore there's just not as much room for the sugars to go into the water molecules. But anywho, so what we're going to do is just take this little feeder can right here, because all the double deeps here don't need any feed. They are packed. This is one of our best bee yards. Our farming buddy here that lets me put the bees here, there's one of the floats coming up. They don't really need it, but we throw them in there anyways. He sprays like 20-something acres with Roundup, herbicide, all that stuff that's supposed to be killing the bees and whatnot. And then he plants that in clover. He seeds it in clover and vetch and different things, and it's awesome. And that's why, a lot of the colonies over here this year produced over 120 pounds of honey a piece. The average over here wasn't all 120, but it was definitely well over 100 pounds per colony. And there's Roundup sprayed all over this ground. Now, I'm not a big fan of it. I don't want it in my food. At the same time, this is his property. He's got plans and goals, and honestly, he should be able to do whatever the heck he wants. I don't want you all telling me what to do with my stuff. That is what is so cool about living in this country. I mean, sure, there's a balance there. I don't want anybody poisoning my food supply that I'm growing on my property, but he isn't. This is his place. Let him do what he wants. And I think the only way that we're really going to overcome all this junk in our food is for people to stop buying it. So if you're buying this food and you're wanting to whine about your bees dying, I really don't want to hear it. Sorry about the little rant, but if you're voting for Roundup and these pesticides and other things with your food dollars, then you're part of the problem. It's not an easy solution. Farmers have it really rough. And for those of you who depend on your living, and your wife or your husband or your kids depend on whatever you do for a living based off of agriculture, then you understand what I'm talking about. It is hard. It is very hard to make a living doing this stuff because every year is different. We had 120 pounds off of these colonies this year. Next year we can get 10 days straight of rain and be lucky to scratch out 80 pounds per colony. And that really affects the bottom line on what I'm able to do for my kids, my family. And so while we do need to figure some things out, at the same time, unless you've walked in the man's shoes, that's all I've got to say about it. Anywho, this is a little bitty 6-frame colony in good health, young queen. I expect this colony to go through winter pretty darn good. And, you know, little colonies like this can do well. The thing of it is, this colony's healthy. I promise you, at least 1 or 2 of those frames right there, maybe that one even has a little bit of brood on it, probably about, you know, if you added it all together, it'd end up being about 1.5 frames to 2 frames solid of brood. And that's really important. That those young bees are what's going to survive the winter, all that stuff. So this video ended up being a lot longer than I wanted it to be. But anyhow, you can feed in these temperatures. Now if you're starting to get down freezing or below, it's a little late, so you need to get on top of it beforehand. But here in Tennessee, it's supposed to be fairly mild next week. Not as good as this week. But if you make a thick sugar syrup, it's much easier for them to deal with it. We don't have problems. So anyways, see a couple robber bees in there. I hope you all have a great overwintering success. We're going to have several videos this winter and early spring targeting what to get starting out as a new beekeeper. Things that are going to help you go from hobbyist to, well, successful hobbyist. There's nothing wrong with being a hobbyist, but you don't need to be a noob, a newbie. Newbies have empty boxes, and we really want you to have full boxes because everybody likes honey. Everybody likes to see their bees doing well and out pollinating all the beautiful flowers and whatnot. So we're going to have a bunch of little short videos on how to just do things like assemble frames in the easiest possible ways, good ways to feed, different designs, different types of equipment, different types of bees. And, you know, with all of what we say, you're going to have to take into consideration, we live in Tennessee. And how you do things up in Wisconsin, you'll have to ask my buddy Jed. He's a pretty darn good beekeeper up there in Wisconsin. You know, if we can just, you know, get over his cheese addiction, we'd be in great shape. So he's always messing with me about my moonshine addiction, which is a lie. Anyways, y'all have a great winter, and we will talk to you later.